All right. Welcome to Raising Funds for World Domination, day number 237. Job interview tomorrow? Excellent. What's the position for? So for the daily update, there's no updates on these items. I merged in the changes I did last night. Junior developer. Excellent. It's a good place to start. From what I've heard, it's particularly difficult for junior developers to get started these days. There's too many new graduates coming online, or coming out in the workforce. Orthoplex 64, how's it going? Okay, this works. Compiles. Glad to hear you're not getting evicted anymore. Well, technically they're appealing the decision. So, technically, I still could get evicted, but was the context for the dismissal? So there's a ton of details. The justification for the evictions were they said they want to do extensive renovations and they have to get vacant possession of the apartment. So there's a whole bunch of different criteria, and it would actually take like hours to explain. It was really a ton of research and stuff like that. But basically, they just kind of submitted some. They just threw together some like building plans and stuff, and said like, "Oh, we're going to do all this stuff," and we had to kind of call a bunch of expert witnesses, and they would testify and be like, "Huh, this seems it's not consistent." And then the landlord's witness would be like, "Oh yeah, we totally need to evict everybody." Yeah, so we won at the tenant board, and the landlord is going to try and escalate the verdict to a higher court, which I don't know. We'll see what happens. So I got the papers that said that they have an intention to do that, but I don't know. I'm not sure if they're planning to. But I don't know. I think the higher court has to first accept the appeal, because I guess maybe they could just like dismiss it outright, and then if they do hear it, then they have to go through all that. Should have raised. Remember, they want to evict. You mentioned rent-evictions. I suppose what I meant to ask is how did the efforts to evict come to a halt? So the rent evictions is the name for, evicting people to break the rent control agreements under the premise of, bogus renovations. And to do that, they cannot just like throw you out. They have to go to the tenant board. First, they have to like give you a piece of paper and say like, "Hey, we want you out." And then if you don't leave, then they have to go to the tenant board, and then they have to file an application to get you to get an eviction order. And then if you don't comply with that, then they call the sheriff and physically remove you. And so to contest the eviction the N13 eviction process, you have to go through an L2 merits hearing. So that's where you discuss the merit of the proposed extensive renovations. And so you have to like basically argue like, actually, they don't, a whole bunch of criteria in the tenant board law, and then so the result of that was their application to evict was dismissed. And so I think their appeal is like an application to set aside the dismissal or something. So I guess your final question there is how did the efforts to evict come to a halt? Technically, their efforts to evict have not come to a halt because they're still I think they're kind of grasping at straws now, because now that they lost on the main case. Like honestly, they were not trying very hard. They're like, if they tried hard, they would have made better arguments. But like a lot of it, like some of the building plans and stuff, they submitted. I think they figured like, let's just like make some like crappy things that look like building plans and submit those, and then we'll just hope that like the tenants don't care and they don't actually follow up and investigate. But we did follow up and investigate and got the building plans and stuff and argued things and called expert witnesses, and then once you actually put their arguments to the test, it doesn't hold up. Renting situation in Canada seems screwed up. Housing market as well. Yeah, it really is. It's so it's so inefficient. My skills are better spent writing software than trying to fight an eviction. Can't believe they're allowed to appeal for dismissal. I guess it's just a general. It's a general like legal thing that's allowed. In their argument, I don't know many details of what they are even going to try to argue. I think probably, like from their perspective, I think they would just think about it mathematically, where if they can get even a single, like the cost of filing the appeal is probably like, $1,000 or $2,000 to file an appeal, a really basic appeal, even if the appeal is going to lose, because if people get the appeal and so a couple more of the tenants, if they can even get rid of one more tenant mathematically, like say over the next 5 years or so, the difference between the market rates and a rent controlled rate, well, it went down, but it'll be on the order of $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 depending on what rent is. So if they can just get rid of one tenant, if they have to pay $2,000 to intimidate one tenant into leaving, then that's a profit of $38,000 or something amortized over the long term. And then if by some chance they actually win on the appeal, then if they can get rid of all the tenants, then that's like millions and millions of dollars if you look at it over like a 10-year time scale. So, we'll continue work on cleaning up some of the launching code. I guess I can't end that there. Let's see, what would I do if I want to hard code a second connection? So I've got a, there's a whole bunch of different, I have another, like, my prototyped multiplayer client. That's not actually merged into this. And I have a bunch of these same functions here. I'm trying to figure out how to generalize this well. So these parameters here are for the server to connect to the database. But I guess I also need parameters that describe how the client connects to the server. I guess technically that's done by the client server interface class. Usually wait for live stream to work in the game. Yeah, I guess it's I've kind of just been trying to keep on my daily pattern of live stream once a day. This whole thing has been an experiment, just to see is it a meaningful thing for channel growth? Can it produce revenue? I did about yeah, I guess in short, I've been only working on the game during stream. Some other video content that I'm working on during the day. That's actually why I've been streaming a bit less lately. But I did, I think it was about, at first, there was like a decent number of like super chats, and every once in a while I was getting a couple new members. And then I think I did, after like around day 100, it started to slow down. And then I turned off monetization because the live streams basically make $0, which makes like 7 cents or something from ads. So I thought, having ads on, I have to declare that there's no like inappropriate content or something. Where when you post a video, you have to say like, I pledge this does not contain sensitive topics and this and that. But I can't guarantee that, because if I'm talking to chat, it's like it's not possible. Someone can like spam bad words or something, and because YouTube can also read the text in the stream. So I turned monetization off for about 100 days, and then the channel metrics started to tank a lot. So I wasn't sure if that was actually doing so many unmonetized live streams was maybe, it seems like it was hurting the overall channel monetization. When I switched it back on, actually they added a new feature called Ads Automator, so it figures out the content moderation pledge, whatever. So you don't have to pledge that it doesn't contain this, because the other thing is most of my income from YouTube comes from the long form videos, and for those make like 1,000 times more revenue than the ads from live streams. So if I get caught, if my monetization pledge is not accurate, then they won't trust that in the future, and future videos would make less money. So that was my logic, but I guess that backfired on me. Anyway, that's a complicated, convoluted explanation, but since they added this ads automator feature, I've turned that on. And at first it seemed to, like a few days after I turned that on, some of my other videos, not the live streams, but the other videos started trending a lot more, and revenue went way up for a few days. But now it's back down, so I don't know what, I'm not sure exactly how it works. The algorithm is complicated. So I guess the next thing will be to think about how to generalize the concept of connection to the world. I think I'll probably pull that out of here. So this database params. Will be an independent connection object. What is the temperature? The temperature is 1. Thank you for asking. So this is a whole complicated thing of its own. It involves spring. I guess I might as well make a new class to represent the connections. There, now it's not so noisy from me typing. So I can have a scenario. So to properly generalize over this, I can have a scenario where I have two local connections to the same world file, or the same local database with two different players. Or I can have a connection with two different databases and two separate players. In the case where there's two players in one world, there should only be one connection to that database. So I almost need like a couple different types of connection objects. To generalize over what I have now, so right now you can connect. You can specify you can specify the database connection params locally, but you can also specify them on the server end. I guess no matter what, this should be a parameter though. Maybe I should call that I should have a world connection, which is just the connection to the world, so like the database or a WebSocket connection, and then I'll have an authorized world connection, which also includes the authorized client ID. for now, I'll just specify those manually. And eventually there'll be like a login server or something that gives out authorized client IDs. I really need to get the multiple-layer code merged in altogether. It's too hard to think about this without. So I want to refactor this in a way that doesn't break all the multiplayer stuff. Or the small amount of code I have for the multiplayer client. I think I'll probably get rid of that. I'll just go back to no parameter. Exploit primitive. It's me. I want to give you 300 USD. What do you do with the money? I spend it on rent. Thank you. Did you solve any more bug bounties? Nice. So rich now, it's absurd. I'm glad to hear that. What have I been working on? I've been working on the terminal block mining simulation game. And also some YouTube videos. drank alcohol? I have drank alcohol, but I've not. It's not something I do much in my adult years. Not healthy habit. Yeah, it's a novelty when you're a kid, but then, or when you're a teenager, but good for the Canadian economy. Yeah, I suppose it is. Some people spend a lot of money on booze. What's your favorite alcoholic beverage? There was a type of beer I tried. I went through a phase where I tried just all kinds of random beers in the LCBO. There was one called Innocent Gun, and it was vanilla flavored Innocent Gun, and that was quite good. But I don't really remember the others. Drunk right now. Like to get drunk and hunt for bugs. Really? I don't think I'd be more effective in that state of mind. Just enough to lower inhibitions. You also said you were so drunk, though. Is it a little bit or a lot? There's the theoretical Balmer peak or whatever. Do you remember the interviews you had with AWS and NVIDIA? I remember one of them, one of the NVIDIA interviews. And I think it was a pretty simple question. It was like, how do you find, if you've got like you're putting numbers into buckets, how do you find if there's duplicate items in wait, what was it? I think it was something like about how to find, you're putting numbers in buckets and you want to find if there's duplicates in a single pass or something. I forget the structure of the question, but it was one of the popular interview questions that was going around at the time. interview with NVIDIA. Actually, I remember my my interview with NVIDIA. So I applied for a kernel developer position, and I remember during the interview, actually the person who was in charge of managing the interviews kept me waiting for a long time, and I didn't I was like, okay, is my interview ready? And they're like, nope. So it'll be a little while. It was a phone interview. And then I remember I went to the place, and they were waiting for me for like 40 minutes, and I was waiting for them. And it was the interview lady was like messed up, and she, I don't know, wasn't really clued in. Anyway, I don't even remember the questions they asked, because from the sound of it, they just wanted to hire me immediately because I had web dev experience, and they really wanted someone to do PHP programming, because I had done PHP, and I thought I was going to do questions about like kernel stuff and C++ and whatever, but I didn't do any. It was I think I wasn't even super excited about it back then, because back then NVIDIA was not the place to be. Hacking is far different from software engineering. More search space enumeration rather than hard thinking about software model. Yeah, I guess I can see how that's true. Just thinking how to break this. Yeah, I guess that's in some ways, if you can, drinking might put you out of a local optima and let you like explore new solutions. Like you probably would use a software differently in a way and be more likely to break it. Don't think it's about being effective. It's probably just more fun. I don't know. I'd be interested to see experimental data on it. Mr. Elder Colonel Sanders. I could have been a kernel developer if they'd hired me for that, but nope. I rewrote the internal test result dashboard for CUDA. That was in 2012, I think. So, if NVIDIA video cards, if anyone out there found that NVIDIA video cards got higher quality, they got less bugs around that period, then you can thank me, because I rewrote their page to. It was this big like monolithic page that took a long time to load. And so you would have to like load test results for other developers that weren't even related to you. So I rewrote it so you could specify something in the query string, so you could only see results for like one specific test, and it would load in 10 seconds instead of waiting like 10 minutes for this massive page to load. Pulled at 280 pounds deadlift. It's 1 rep max. Nice. How much dopamine are you getting right now doing this code? That's hard to answer, because people talk about dopamine as though it's like it's a specific substance that like satisfies you or something. I think in reality dopamine is released like when you anticipate doing a task. It's not necessarily the reward, it's the anticipation of reward. And then there's also different dopamine subtypes. It's a really complicated molecule. And it's also not just about the dopamine, it's also about the receptors and where they're located. I'm 33, lost all my childhood friends, now have none. How can I make some? That's a good question. I think the best strategy. I found there's really only two ways to develop close relationships, and that is one is spend a long time in the same place or circumstance as someone else, or you can speed things up if both of you go through a very stressful experience. So if you go on a hike with someone and then get lost, and you get lost in the wilderness and almost starve to death, then that'll make you friends with someone quicker. I think the challenge nowadays is just being in a place, finding a reason to be in a place where another person is. And there's of course money. You gotta get money to do things and go places. Have no money. I guess an option is you could get a job. You could get a really stupid job that you don't really want, and there's a chance you might work with someone at the job. And that person might be an interesting person. You could be their friend. That's a lot of work, though. You might spend a few months doing that, and then find that all the people you work with are not very interesting. Let me think. This is going to be really slow going. This is a very deep architectural thing I need to change. Going to see a psychologist. I guess that could be fruitful. There's a whole variety of different. There's like therapists and psychologists and all kinds of, and then there's like just crazy people. But if you get the right person with the right head on their shoulders, then maybe they can advise you correctly. Why is Colonel and I think it's Colonel pronounced the same? Actually, they're pronounced the same. I would pronounce that Colonel, but then again, this is not a word I ever say, so I would believe you that it's pronounced Colonel. Or is it? Maybe it just sounds different. There's no R in there, so. It's the same. There's no R in it, though. So cur has an R, but COLNEL, there's no R in that. I've only ever heard them pronounced the same. I guess I've heard the word colonel, like in a military position. I don't think I've probably always read that as colonel, but then, yeah, I've never thought about this specific topic before. Yeah, this is a dilemma. I was already trying to figure out a complicated programming problem. Now I'm trying to figure out how you would pronounce that with an R. Like there's some like silent letters and stuff. I can kind of understand that, but there's no R in that. Why would you have an R sound? How do you know whether or not you're depressed? That's a good question. I'm sure there's a clinical definition. I guess there's like self-reported symptoms and stuff. But then again, I also find in the field of psychology, there's like the definitions for various psychological afflictions seems to be expanding. Got VirtualBox running. Ubuntu image. My Windows box. Playing the game now. Oh, nice. If you're playing it, you should play on one of the release versions, the most recent release version. The current version that's on, like if you just clone the head, it'll crash randomly because there's some significant things that are not implemented in this version. LI8 says, "Hey Robert, how's it going?" .09. Yeah, I think that's probably this version here, if you're that should be pretty stable. I feel like people use the word depression as sort of self-fulfilling prophecy. Maybe. I don't know. I don't. This is not a topic I think about much. How are you doing? Are we talking about depression? Someone asked about depression, so I just responded to their question. I was software dev, switched to medicine. I'm curious, when did you make the switch? And I'm curious, was it a good decision or a bad decision? How much is your debt? I don't know. I don't. Oh, do you mean for LEI8? Now I'm depressed. I guess it's better decision because of job security. That's too bad. Sounds like a lot of people here have the blues tonight. Yeah, it's hard to get everything that you want in life. It'd be nice if we could everyone could have a lot of money and be happy. And have job security. Don't have any debt. Nice. Yeah, people who are in a lot of debt now are really in a bad position. There's a lot of people in the real estate market here in Canada are getting crushed. I didn't have the blues tonight until Robert skipped my security mindset message. Oh, I think I saw that, and I was like, wait, did I already read that? I couldn't remember, so I just skipped it. But I saw your message. Just hard times. Yeah, it'd be nice. It seems like I remember back in like 2007, it was like it kind of seemed like the business cycle was slowing down or something. And it seems like we've been in like we've been in a recession for years and years, and the economy just keeps chugging along. There's a lot of like systems. It kind of seems like we're in the current phase of our economy is like we're taking things that have value and like destroying them. It's like what we called it. It's I watched a video that specifically articulated this. It's like we're just salvaging everything. Like companies, you can, if you're a private equity firm, you buy a company and then you load it up on debt, and then you like strip all the copper wire out of it and burn it down for the insurance money, and that's a very profitable business model. And you take that money, you use it to buy more businesses, and then you just keep it burning them down for the insurance money. But eventually that business model won't work forever. People who haven't found their purpose in life often become depressed. Yeah, I guess that would make sense. Do I have anything uncommitted? All right, I haven't broken anything. I didn't get too far tonight. Like I added a new class. Where's that used? It's almost not even used. Unblock session open. That basically does nothing. Well, I guess I'll just have to keep reviewing this until it gets fresh in my mind. And refactor it bit by bit. All right, I'll leave it there for tonight. Then we'll pick things up again tomorrow night for day, I think it's 238. All right, have a good night, guys.